Hi, this month we're going to look at making a mic mixer in HISE. So we're going to need some multi-mic samples for this. I've put together a little project. There's nothing in it yet, we're looking at it now. Here's the project folder on my desktop. I put some samples in here. These are just some clarinet samples, there's just a few, we've got like 10 notes. And there's 3 different mic positions. So we've got close mic, that's a mono channel, we've got Decca, that's stereo, and we've got Hall, that's stereo as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to map these samples, and it's really easy in HISE. So we're going to add a sampler. We're going to go to the sampler workspace, and let's pull up that sampler. There we go. And then over here we've got the samples. So this is showing the folder on my desktop, and here are the samples. And we're just going to drag them straight in. So I'll just select them all and we're going to drag them, and we'll use the mapping file name token parser to map them. And I'm only working one dynamic here in a limited sample set, but this will work if you've got multiple dynamics as well. So I'm going to map them by to a single key by note number. So that's all set up, so I'll just hit OK. And it's asking me if I want to set the loop points that are embedded in the samples. I'll just click OK on that, that's fine. Okay, so this is our sample map, and we can see in the table view the samples as well. So we've got the close samples down to there, the Decca samples from there to there, and then here are the Hall ones. Now of course they're all occupying the same space. We've only got one group. So they're all in the same group and they're all covering the same key range. Now if this was in Contact, what you'd usually do is make a separate group for each mic position. Well, in HISE we don't have to do that. What we can do in HISE is we can merge all of the different samples into what's called a multi-mic sample. So let's look at how to do that. So we just highlight all of them, right click, go to Tools, Merge into Multi-Mic Samples. And then it's going to do it based on the name of the sample, so it's important that you have the mic position's name within the sample file name. So mine are obviously named, we've got them Decca, Hall and Close. So the separator for my file name is an underscore, and I recommend you use an underscore. It tends to work better than a dash or any other symbol. And then I'm going to select from here which part of the file name I want to represent the mic position. So in this case it's going to be Close. And this, I haven't found it makes much difference. I just set it to mapping and file name. I think it might make a difference if you're using round robin groups, but I'm not 100% sure. But if you set it mapping and file name, it should work fine. And then it gives us a little status message. It says it's found 11 multi-samples with 3 channels. So 3 channels means it's found 3 mic positions. So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to merge these now. Okay, so they're now merged. So if I click this and drag it, you can see it just looks like a single sample. And we can see over here it looks like a single sample, and it's only displaying the close mic position now, but we do actually have all of the samples there. Now it's important that you have consistent samples for this. What I mean is, if you have a close mic sample, let's say on middle C, then the Decca mic and the Hall mic sample must be exactly the same length as the close mic sample. They must all match, otherwise you'll get an error when it tries to do this merge, because it couldn't merge 3 samples of a different length into a single multi-mic sample. That wouldn't work. Okay, let's save this sample map, and I'll just call it clarinet sustain.xml. Now sometimes what I've found is after I've done the merge, if I try to play the notes, let's see, let's turn the volume down here. It will not always play them. Okay, that seems to be working fine. But if you find that you've done the merge and you try and play back and it's playing back a bit weird, all you need to do is go to the sampler settings, and then where it says purge all, just select this, select enabled to purge all the samples, and then disabled to reload them. And I found that fixes that kind of issue. You'll notice these samples start a bit slow. That's because they haven't been trimmed. You can see there's a lot of start there. So while we're here, we might as well auto trim them. So I'll right click again, Tools, Trim Sample Start. And it's important actually that we're trimming the sample start of the close mic position So let's just trim these. It's not really important for this video, but since we're here, there we go, they're trimmed, and now I'll save that. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we've got our multi-mic samples, we're going to build a mic mixer. Now, because the multi-mic samples allow us to treat 3 samples as a single sample, it makes it really easy. But you might be thinking that since we're treating all 3 samples as a single sample, how do we merge individual mic positions and control the volume and stuff like that? Luckily, HISE has us covered there, so I'm going to go into that now and we'll see how to do all that. So we'll start by adding our main interface script, and we're going to add some controls. We're going to have a channel strip. So we're going to need a slider for volume, and we'll have another one for panning, and we'll have a purge button as well. Let's just line all of those up. Right, I'm just going to rename these. So we'll have pan 0, vol 0 for volume, and purge 0. And let's just change the range of these. So this pan 1, we're going to set the mode to pan. Nice and easy. And let's put the pan above the volume. There we go. And for the volume one, we're going to set the mode to decibel. And purge, we're just going to leave. We can change the text of these as well, just so it looks a bit nicer. Okay, so there's our mic channel strip. So this is just for one channel, obviously. But we're going to expand this and we're going to have 3 channels. So let's duplicate these controls. So I'm just pressing Ctrl D there to duplicate, and we'll do that one more time. And because we numbered them, pan 0, vol 0, purge 0, when we've duplicated them, HISE has automatically changed the 0 to a 1 for the first duplication, and then to a 2 for the second duplication, so that just makes it really handy for us. Okay, so now we're going to grab some of these controls in our script, and actually all we're going to need to grab is the purge controls. So we'll make const var btn purge. And that's going to be an array to store all of those purge buttons. And then we're going to have a little loop for I equals 0, I is less than 3 because we've got 3 mic channels, I++, then btn purge equals content.getComponent btn purge, and then we're going to use string concatenation here and add I to the end of that control name so that it gets each of the buttons, because I is going to be 0, then 1, then 2, and our purge buttons are named btn purge 0, btn purge 1, btn purge 2. We're also going to need a control callback for these buttons, and rather than having 3 different control callbacks for the 3 different buttons, we'll just make one control callback because it's less code to write. There's no point in writing 3 that are all just going to do pretty much the same thing. So we'll make control callback. We'll call it on. Actually, let's call it purge mic position. And it's going to need a component and a value. And then we'll assign it to the purge buttons. Okay, so now we'll just test that. We'll just put console.print inside our function. And now when I press these buttons, we should see hello printed. There we go. Yeah, that's working fine. So now we'll start with actually purging the mic positions, I think. And we'll start by figuring out which channel's button was pressed. So this callback will be triggered no matter which purge button it is that is clicked. But we need to know which one was clicked. Was it the first channel, the second channel, or the third channel? The way we're going to do that is we're going to take the component and see what its index is inside the btn purge array. So this is a technique I've shown before and I use it all the time. No, we don't want to const, we want a local variable. We're going to call it IDX, index, and it's going to be btn purge dot index of component. And we can print that out to the console so we can see it. So when I click one of these buttons now, it's going to have a look in the btn purge array and find out where that button is. Is it the first one, the second, or the third? And it will put that number inside this index variable. So yeah, that works fine, 0, 1, 2. So now we can purge our mic positions. So before we can purge our mic positions, we need to know which sampler we're going to purge. Now in our project here, we only have one sampler, but it may be the case that you have multiple samplers that all have multi-mic samples. So if that's the case, you're going to need to get a reference to all of the samplers that are relevant for your mic mixer. But I only have one, so I'm just going to right click and go create generic script reference. And I'm going to paste this at the top. Say get sampler, and this is for the purge button, so I'll put that there. Okay, so I've got my sampler, I've got a reference to it, so now we can purge the mic positions that are loaded into this single sampler. If you have multiple samplers, I recommend you put them into an array rather than a single variable, and then you could just loop through them in this function instead of doing them one at a time, but there are multiple ways to handle that. Okay, so now let's go over to the API browser. I'm just going to type in here purge, and we get two functions. They're both part of the sampler object. We get is mic position purged. That's a function to check if a particular mic position already is purged. And for this, it wants a mic index. So in our case, that'll be 0, 1, or 2. And the other function is purge mic position. And this, it wants a string. It wants the mic position name and a Boolean value, either true or false, should we purge or should we load the samples. Now we haven't grabbed the mic position names yet, so we're going to do that first of all. So we're going to have mic name equals, and then let's just see what happens if we type in mic here. So if I type in mic, we get some extra functions. We have this function at the top, get mic position name, and that's exactly what we want, and we give it the channel index, and we've got the index here. So the mic name is going to be sampler1 dot as sampler, and I have to put as sampler here because I've got the sampler as a child synth. If instead of doing it as a child synth you just did get sampler, then you wouldn't need to put as sampler here. So just something to be aware of. I usually grab them as a child synth because that gives you access to more functions. And then we're going to put dot get mic position name, and then we'll put the index in there. And again, we'll print this to the console so that we can see that it's working correctly. I recommend you always print stuff to the console as much as possible, especially when you're experimenting like this. That way you can make sure that you're getting the output you expect at each stage. So I'll just print the mic name there. And if I click the first one, we'd expect it to print out close. Yep, second one should be Decker, I think. Yep, Decker, and then Hall. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe HISE handles the mic positions in alphabetical order when you do the mic merge. So that's why our close mic is the one that it's sort of taking everything from. When we look in here, this is the close mic it's displaying. So be aware of that when you're naming your samples, that they are dealt with in alphabetical order. Okay, so we've got the microphone name. We've got the index, so now we can say, is the mic position purged? So we say if sampler1 dot is mic position purged, and then we have to give it the mic position index, which is index, and we want to say equals false. So if it's not purged, then we're going to purge it. So now we're going to purge it, so we're going to do sampler1 dot purge mic position, and it wants a name, so we're going to give it mic name and then a Boolean value, so we're going to say true to purge it, and then we'll have an else. So we've got an else, which means it is purged already, so we're going to unpurge it. And I'll show you a nicer way to do this in just a moment, but that's the sort of most basic way. So let's just hit F5. Okay, we've got an error here. Line 21, function not found. Oh, okay, this is because, as I mentioned earlier, I need to use as sampler. So I'll just fix that. As sampler. There we go. So if we go back to the main workspace, and I'll bring up the interface over this side. Let's zoom that in a bit. There we go. So we can already purge all of the channels here, or load them. And if we look in this drop down above, the one that says purge channel, we can see which channels are loaded by which ones have a tick next to them. So now we can manually remove them all, and if I play on the keyboard we shouldn't hear anything. And we can reload them in the same way. So if they have a tick, they're loaded. If they don't have a tick, they're unloaded. So now I'm going to purge our first channel. So that's purged the close mic, so I'm going to purge the second one. That's purged the decker, and now I'm going to purge the hall. So that's purged as well, and if I play, I hear nothing. Now I just have to click them again to unpurge those channels. Okay, let's just look quickly at how we can improve this purging stuff. I don't like this. We can actually do it in a single line. So this has been one method to do it, and this relies on checking if the mic position is already purged or not. What we're actually going to do now is we're going to replace this with a single line that just uses the value of the button. So we can delete pretty much all of that, and we'll just work with this one. So instead of putting false here, we'll just put the value of the button. And that should do it. Let's just see. So nothing's purged. And we'll purge these. Yep, that works. There we go, and I'll undo that. And now they're all loaded again. So that's a simple way, but sometimes you might want to do it the other way, where you're checking if the mic positions are already purged before you purge them. It depends on how you're handling things. I just wanted to show you both methods. So now let's look at the pan and volume. Now this part is really easy. We don't have to do any coding for this. So we're going to add 3 effects, and they're all going to be simple gain. I'm just going to rename them so that they start from 0 instead of 1, because I like things to start from 0 instead of 1. So we'll add 3 of these. And the simple gain effect gives us a gain control, and a delay and a width, so stereo width, and balance, which is pan control. So for our purposes, we're obviously interested in the gain, which we're going to link our volume knobs to, and the balance, which we'll link our pan knobs to. So let's just connect those up now. So we select the pan, and over here where it says processor ID, we're going to select simple gain 0, and select the parameter ID of balance. And then I'll do the same for the volume. Set it to control the gain. The purge button we've already handled in the script. And that one should be there. There we go. And I'll do the same thing, but this time for the second simple gain. And the volume. And now for the third one. Oh, I've named that one incorrectly. Let me just change that. It should be 2. There we go. Yeah, I might get a little error here. Let's just compile that. Make sure it's picking up that new name. Simple gain 2. There we go. Balance, yeah. Okay, so I'll hit compile on that. Okay, so if we go back to the main workspace, and now if I move this pan knob, you can see it moves the balance for our first simple gain effect. And the volume control controls the gain, and that should be the same for all of them. Yeah, so they work just fine. So now the thing is, we've got to make sure that each of these effects corresponds to the correct mic position. Because at the moment they don't, they're just covering the whole instrument. We need to assign them to particular mic positions. And we do that just through routing, and it's really easy. So can you see this little button here? Just above where it says pitch, there's a tiny little button. We're going to click that, and this brings up the routing matrix. Now what we're seeing here is saying sampler 1, and we can see there's 6 channels. So those are our mic positions, and they're all stereo. Even though the close mic is a mono sample, it gets 2 channels, so it'll just be the same audio coming through both of them. And where it says mix mixer here, which is a typo, it should say mic mixer, that's referring to this container here, which is called mix mixer. So the mix mixer container is stereo, so all of these channels are being merged into a stereo mix, and we don't want that. So what we're going to do is up here where it says mix mixer, we're going to click on its routing matrix. We're going to right click and select change channel amount and change that to 6. So because I'm in the standalone version of HISE, the HISE output is stereo, and there's nothing I can do about that. I've only got 2 speakers. But if you were using this as a plugin in your sequencer, or when you compile your project to a plugin, it will have access to all of the outputs that are available in your plugin. So don't worry about that. So we're going to right click and go all channels to stereo, just so it all links up so we can hear it. And now, if we go back down to here where it says where we had sampler 1, we can have a look at its routing matrix. And we're going to right click in here and select all channels. And now that connects them up to the container. So far so good. The sampler is routing all 6 channels to all 6 channels of the container. So now we just need to connect up these effects. So simple gain 0 we want on channels 1 and 2. That's for the close mic. The second simple gain we want on channels 3 and 4. That's for the decker. And the third one we want to have on the last 2 channels, 5 and 6, for the hall. Now if I play on the keyboard, we're going to see the meters light up on these 3 effects. If I drop the volume on 2 of them, we should only see it light up on the gain, on the close simple gain. So that shows us that it's working. I'll just go through each one. There we go. So that shows us that that routing is working, and that's pretty much it for a basic mic mixer. We've got our panning, our volume, and our purge. Now if you need more than 3 channels or less than 3 channels, just change this number here and add the appropriate controls. One important thing you must do before you export your plugin in order to have more outputs available in HISE, so more than just the stereo out, is you need to go into your project settings where you have these boxes for extra definitions. So you need to add an extra definition, which would be HISE _num _plugin _channels, and then equals, and then the number of channels. So in this case it would be 6, and you need to put this in each box for the operating systems you're going to be exporting on. If you're also building HISE itself as a plugin, you can do this through the producer. So in producer, if you go to each of these export options, so for Visual Studio for example, or Xcode, there's this box at the top, extra preprocessor definition, so you could put in the same thing there. So if you follow me on Patreon, I'll be doing an extra little video later in the week for my $10 supporters, which will show you how to route each mic position to a different output in your DAW. So that's quite a common feature, being able to route each channel to its own output or bus inside your DAW, which is really handy for percussion samples especially, but also just for being able to apply different effects to each channel. So that's just a little extra for the for my patrons. If you're not supporting me on Patreon, please consider it. There's a link in the video description on YouTube. I'll also be making the project files that I've created here, including the samples, which are from Sophia Woodwinds. I'll be making those available to the $5 and $10 tier supporters. So please consider supporting me there. I do appreciate it, and I appreciate all your feedback as well. This video is actually a response to a request I got. So feel free to get in touch with any suggestions you have, or if you've got any questions, anything like that. If you're watching this on YouTube, please consider clicking the subscribe and like button. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.